Kiaro, a down-and-out individual, endured torment at the hands of the hero's group, forced to heal them as their servant. Everything shifts when he regresses to the past, gaining immense power to exact his revenge. Now, every villain in the area seeks a taste of his magic staff, as he charms kitties under the moon and takes down foes in daylight. Previously, each time he healed someone, their memories flooded into his mind, a traumatic experience that pushed him to the brink of ending it all. He attempted to escape this nightmare, but his powers were too valuable, leading to his capture and forced drug use by Princess Flare, who aimed to manipulate him. In their final mission, Flare's team confronts the Demon Lord, but she swiftly overpowers them all. When they call for Kiaro's healing, he smirks, having acquired a skill called drug resistance, freeing him from their control. He charges at the Demon Lord, wielding hundreds of S-rank abilities he pilfered from those he healed, ultimately defeating her. Before her last breath, she smiles through tears, leaving behind a Philosopher's Stone. After the battle, Flare demands the stone, but Kiaro plans to use its power for world domination, opting to harness it himself to heal the tainted world. Flare warns him he will lose his memories too, but Kiaro insists he will never forget the pain etched into his very being. Upon activating the stone, he travels back in time, awakening in a modest home, where a voice urges him to grow stronger. Disoriented without his memories, he ventures out, hearing the voice again, instructing him to seek the spirit's side, leading him into the forest. Eventually, he finds a pond where an elven villain grants him the power to perceive spirits all around. With the spirit side acquired, his memories flood back, fueling his desire for revenge against Flare for her past actions. Shortly after, Kiaro unlocks his healing abilities upon receiving the hero's mark again, and for days he consumes narcotic plants to build drug resistance, outsmarting Flare. Soon, Flare arrives in his village searching for the hero and takes Kiaro to the royal capital. On the journey, Kiaro realizes his budget version of the Sharingan lets him assess everyone's skills. He soon meets the king, who bestows upon him the title of Recovery Hero. Using his appraisal ability, Kiaro discovers the king is stronger than the promised consort Radon, making revenge impossible while the king is present. The king then invites him to relax until the Sword Saint returns, as there are healing needs. After a tiring day, Kiaro retreats to his new room, but a maid soon visits, offering him special room service. Initially puzzled, he quickly realizes his hero abilities can unlock true potential in anyone, seizing the chance to absorb the memories of all who come to him. Days later, the Sword Saint Kura returns to the capital, and Kiaro uses his healing magic to restore her severed arm. His mind is instantly bombarded with the traumas Kura has endured, causing him to choke. Before Kura can assist, Flare arrives, instructing her to leave this fool to her, and Kura vows to repay him before departing. Immediately, Flare berates Kiaro for being a useless fool, and despite the Grand Healer's protests, she suggests drugging him to prevent fainting during healing. Unbeknownst to her, Kiaro overhears everything, realizing she's the same old villain, ready to crush her without remorse. Later, Kiaro feigns fear, claiming he won't use his healing powers because they cause him pain. He explains that healing forces him to relive the suffering of his patients, and if he continues, he risks losing himself. Flare calmly assures him that Kura will save many lives thanks to his help. She then inquires if he will heal other heroes, but despite her efforts, Kiaro declines and hides under the blanket. She claims to understand and won't pressure him, leaving the room, prompting Kiaro to drop his act. Everything mirrors his past life, but this time, he won't be fooled by Flare's smile. Soon, a maid brings tea to soothe Kiaro's nerves, and even knowing it's drugged, he downs it. Before long, he loses consciousness and awakens in a cell, receiving punches from Cap and Renard for defying the princess. After being knocked down and spat on, Kiaro counts 28 lashes, vowing to repay Renard with interest. The brand healer then forces drugs into his mouth, and history begins to repeat. For days, Flare sends the town's most bizarre characters into his cell, subjecting him to more drugs. Then one day, Flare pays him a visit, and he pretends to plead for more drugs. She tells him to beg like a dog waiting for food, and Kiaro plays along for the sake of revenge. She then crushes his walnuts and spills the drink on the floor, forcing him to lick it while she watches. Afterward, she promises more if he heals when asked, and Kiaro agrees to the arrangement. From that point on, he's compelled to heal injured soldiers, using his powers to replicate their skills. He endures everything thrown at him until his drug tolerance rises enough for him to regain control. Finally, 6 months later, that day arrives, and Chiaro appraises himself, realizing he's significantly stronger. Days later, he overhears guards discussing the king's departure to another country, and with the biggest threat away, he decides it's time for revenge. After breaking free from his confinement, the guards start searching for him, and Flair begins to feel anxious. Soon enough, Renard drags a bound Chiaro into the hall, informing Flair that he possesses invaluable information to share discreetly. Flair instructs the men to escort Chiaro away, while Renard follows him into a chamber guarded by her soldiers. As soon as he enters, he draws his sword and takes down Flair's guards. He forcefully pushes Flair against the wall, using a technique to siphon her magic. Flair, bewildered, questions his actions, only to discover he is Chiaro, who had disguised himself as Renard. Instantly, Flair changes her demeanor, claiming she only drugged him to spare him from suffering. Chiaro counters, stating he remembers everything because her mind-altering drug failed, and now he seeks vengeance. He snaps one of her fingers, hoping the pain will make her reconsider her choices. Gasping in agony, Flair offers him wealth and power, but he breaks another finger, vowing not to fall for her tricks again. He warns her that he will shatter each of her fingers, and if she remains silent, he will spare her further harm. As he continues, Flair struggles to suppress her cries, but the pain is evident. With all her fingers shattered, she thinks it's over, but Chiaro heals them, suggesting they start anew. This time, she can't contain herself, prompting Chiaro to escalate the situation. He heats a metal rod in the fireplace and asks Flair to choose between his rod and the heated one. Flair opts for the less brutal choice. Afterward, he ignites a fire in the room and uses magic to alter Flair's appearance, planning to erase her existence. Before taking her away, he transforms a corpse's face to resemble Flair's, framing Renard as the perpetrator. The following day, he alters his own appearance, plotting revenge against Blade and Bullet, the other members of Flair's group who tormented him. Next, he intends to confront the Demon Lord again, believing she was guarding something before he ended her. Suddenly, Flair awakens, disoriented about her surroundings. She can't even recall her name, so Chiaro tells her she's Fredia, his attendant. He then claims they are lovers. She'll remember everything, yet she allows him to take her from behind. Believing his words, Fredia accepts the arrangement, but after he finishes, she admits her memory is still hazy. Yet her heart insists they are destined to be together. Soon, Chiaro and Fredia embark on a journey, spotting Renard's wanted posters throughout the capital. He hears people lamenting Flair's death, but when someone wishes for Princess Morn's safe return, his mood shifts dramatically. Norn, Flair's younger sister, was the only one in Chiaro's past life to notice his drug tolerance. Just the thought of her makes Chiaro sweat, prompting him to flee the city before she arrives. Previously, Flair trained with her companions, Bullet and Blade. Meanwhile, Chiaro lurked in the background, solely focused on increasing his drug intake. When Flair called him worthless, Bullet remarked that he wasn't entirely useless since his healing was beneficial, but Flair reminded him he treated Chiaro the worst. Bullet wished Chiaro would just end it all, and they all laughed at his miserable state. That night, Flair summoned Chiaro to her tent, forcing him to beg like a dog for the drug. She poured it over her fountain of youth, making him drink directly from the source. Afterward, she crushed his walnuts and kicked him outside, where Blade began to beat him for getting intimate with her beloved princess. She then realized Chiaro's lips had touched places she could only fantasize about, and she eagerly kissed him to savor Flair's remnants. However, she couldn't bear the thought of kissing a repulsive sloth like Chiaro and ended up vomiting. Upon returning to his tent, Chiaro discovered a bed of roses, and Uncle Josh embraced him from behind, promising to make him feel better. When Chiaro resisted, Josh punched him to the ground, only to regret it moments later. He apologized for his cruelty towards Chiaro and began to make amends. Loving Chiaro's youthful face, he wished to preserve that innocence forever, wishing he could end his life and imprint Chiaro's final visage in his memory. Currently, Chiaro awakens from this nightmare, and Freita comforts him, revealing he was screaming in his sleep. Chiaro springs into action, rearranging her anatomy before heading out to wash his face. He recalls the torment inflicted by Bullet and Blade, vowing to exact revenge if it's the last thing he does. Days later, Chiaro and Freita arrive in La Narita, a lawless city teeming with crime and illicit activities. The pair orders food from a nearby inn, but Chiaro uses his special vision to detect the poisoned water. He suspects a monster's carcass taints the water source, but since the poison weakens with heat, the food is safe to consume. Chiaro believes the water will clear up once the carcass decomposes, but until then, anyone who drinks it will fall ill for 2 months. He notices many diners already coughing, predicting a repeat of 2019 in a week. Freda asks if he plans to help these people, and he replies he would be glad to. That night, he drinks the toxic water to build antibodies, which he amplifies using his healing abilities. He pours his blood into the water, successfully purifying it completely. The following day, Freda tells him he could be a hero here, but when he dismisses fame, she sees his true character. Shortly after, he encounters a merchant and shares details about the remedy he has developed. The merchant doubts him, prompting Chiaro to suggest he test it on himself, since he's the only one infected. Instead, the merchant gives it to his assistant, who is in worse shape, and as soon as he swallows it, healing begins. The merchant tries it himself and feels significantly better, leading Chiaro to propose a deal. The merchant requests the recipe, but Chiaro declines, offering instead to sell a single dose for 1 gold coin. The merchant agrees and even places a larger order, which Chiaro accepts before departing. Chiaro informs the merchant that he set the price, but he expects half of the profits from each sale. With no other options, the merchant smiles and agrees, though he secretly plots betrayal. On their way back, Freda questions Chiaro's trust in the merchant instead of selling independently, and Chiaro explains it's more efficient. Moreover, if a powerful figure discovers he has the recipe, Chiaro could become a target, so using a merchant is safer. Soon after, he visits the slave traders seeking a scapegoat, but Freda is less than enthusiastic about the idea. She suggests finding an adventurer instead, but Chiaro calmly points out that adventurers have their own agendas, while a slave will obey. He enters and hands over his coin pouch to the dealer, stating he needs a combat slave. The dealer leads him to the basement, where Chiaro sees countless demi-humans caged, but nothing catches his interest. The dealer shows him the section for injured and sick slaves, where he notices a girl from the Ice Wolf clan. Despite being poisoned by the town's water, the girl appears relatively healthy, indicating her strength. Before Chiaro can choose, the dealer mentions this girl was brought from Pound Town, but was so violent, her last owner discarded her. Additionally, she has reached her peak, meaning no matter how hard she trains, she won't grow stronger. Suddenly, the wolf girl lunges at Chiaro, but the dealer uses his ring to magically control her. Undeterred, Chiaro approaches her, seeing her eyes filled with a thirst for revenge, and offers to buy her to fulfill that need. After placing his hand on her head, the girl faints, allowing Chiaro to carry her. The dealer reminds him of their no-refund policy, but Chiaro insists this girl is like him, both seeking vengeance. Chiaro aims to help her eliminate the one who harmed her, eager to see who she becomes once she achieves her goal. As he carries her outside, the dealer thanks him for the purchase and invites him back for an upcoming large shipment. That night, while the slave rests, Chiaro uses his powers to heal her, instantly absorbing her memories. He discovers her name is Setsuna, captured when human bandits raided her village. Chiaro recalls the dealer mentioning a big shipment, and from Reynard's memories, he knows Yorl's army is attacking demi-human villages. Setsuna seeks revenge on these mercenaries for slaughtering her village, and Chiaro is eager to witness her vengeance. Later that day, he meets the merchant again and sells him even more vials. On the way back, Freda is thrilled about his earnings, thinking of how she can spend it on that Gucci purse. Upon returning, they find Setsuna still asleep, prompting Chiaro to give her another dose of the antidote, making Freda a bit envious. Abruptly, Setsuna wakes and slaps Chiaro for messing with her while she slept. Freda quickly intervenes, scolding Setsuna and explaining that Chiaro has been caring for her and just made her drink the antidote. Initially skeptical, Setsuna changes her mind after Freya sheds a few tears, realizing her wounds are healed and she feels spiritually uplifted. Once she understands, she apologizes to Chiaro and introduces herself as a warrior from the Ice Wolf clan. Chiaro then asks Freya to bring food to the room, planning for a different kind of meal tonight. As soon as Freya leaves, Setsuna vows to repay his kindness later, but insists she must leave now. She attempts to put Chiaro to sleep, but he pins her down, reminding her he removed her collar because he is far stronger. He asserts he doesn't need a collar to control her, explaining that his village can still be saved since the bandits haven't arrived. When she resists, he tells her it's pointless. If he can pin her down, she can't protect an entire village. He releases her and demonstrates that she has reached her maximum potential for now, but she must follow his instructions. He can amplify her potential tenfold, revealing he possesses the power of the Sword Saint and the mark of the hero, which calms Setsuna. Kiaro states he will unlock her potential if she reveals her true name, as knowing a beast human's true name grants control. Setsuna agrees to share it and become his slave for life, provided he allows her to avenge her people. At that moment, Kiaro pulls out his Kitty Slayer 69, offering her the choice to grow stronger or walk away. Setsuna opts for strength, and after swallowing her pride, she feels a surge of heat, prompting Kiaro to use his appraisal eye to confirm her growth. Yet there's still much to address, so Kiaro suggests a more straightforward approach for round 2. Despite her initial hesitation, Setsuna allows Kiaro to unlock her potential multiple times. Before dawn breaks, Kiaro escorts her back to her village, where bandits are preparing for an unexpected assault. Setsuna witnesses girls like her being whipped and instantly gears up for a fight, but Kiaro restrains her, explaining the bandits are baiting the warriors. Tears welling in her eyes, Setsuna watches her friends suffer, and Kiaro urges her to hold on while he reduces their numbers. Setsuna agrees, and shortly after, the Wolf Clan warriors storm through the main gate to confront the mercenaries. As casualties mount on both sides, Kiaro dons a mask and introduces himself while the sword plunges into the men. He proclaims he will deliver justice to those who harm innocent demi-humans, then begins to slice through their ranks. After dispatching the men, he approaches the demi-humans, revealing he came in response to Setsuna's tears, a girl from the Ice Wolf clan. Turning to the remaining human forces, he faces a barrage of arrows, but Fredia counters with her fireball spell, incinerating them mid-flight. The same fireball engulfs the mercenaries, and Kiaro cackles like a madman, relishing the fact that their own princess is attacking them. With most foes defeated, Kiaro signals Setsuna to exact her revenge, leading to a slaughter rivaling Annie's assault on the Levi squad. Kiaro joins in the chaos, stating he typically avoids harming those who haven't wronged him. But this is for Setsuna, so he plans to eliminate anyone obstructing her path. Watching Setsuna unleash her fury, the Wolf Clan warriors rally and charge to finish off the remaining soldiers. With the battle concluded, Kiaro sheaths his sword, then glances at Fredia, realizing she has lost not only her memories, but also the malice Flair once possessed. This revelation hits him. Yorl's nation transformed her into a monster, and now he's contemplating leveling the entire kingdom. Soon after, Setsuna takes down the last human, screaming at the top of her lungs before gazing tearfully at the crimson moon. That night, the Wolf Clan revels in their victory with a grand celebration. Once everyone else retires for the night, Kiaro leads Setsuna to the source of the contamination. He suspects the Wolf Clan intentionally poisoned the water to retaliate against the humans who attacked them, turning to Setsuna. He offers her a choice: strengthen the poison to harm more humans, or cleanse the water to heal the afflicted. Faced with the decision, Setsuna opts to forgive the humans and requests Kiaro to purify the water. Afterward, as Kiaro taints her fountain of youth, she shares how numb she felt after her revenge and desires to feel something more. She doesn't wish to harm humans with poison. Instead, she wants to use her claws for a more direct approach. Reaching Cloud 9, she discloses her true name to Kiaro, granting him control over her until his demise. Meanwhile, the king finally arrives back at the royal palace, and Reynard requests an audience, detailing Kiaro's actions. The king orders him to retrieve Kiaro's head, promising that success will restore his reputation as captain. At that moment, Norn joins her father, seemingly satisfied with the arrangement. The following day, Kuruha overhears men discussing the massacre outside the Wolf Clan village, mentioning the sword sign that obliterated them. They suspect he was an imposter, yet he employed the Clirat sword technique, unique to Kuruha's lineage, raising her suspicions. Elsewhere, Kiaro observes his two companions enjoying a pond, so he attempts his best Johnny Sin impression to clear their pipes. Afterward, the trio navigates through a shady town, but Setsuna feels uneasy with so many lurking figures. Suddenly, a man takes an interest in Setsuna, asking Kiaro for permission to have his way with her for a gold coin. Kiaro retorts that it would cost at least 1,000. Furious, the man lunges at him, but Setsuna swiftly intervenes, subduing him while receiving praise for her protection. Kiaro focuses on the man, using a healing spell to discover he is one of the few who fled from last night's battle. After tearing the badge from his coat, Kiaro instructs Setsuna to dismiss him. Later, he encounters Ledra, who unexpectedly brings a dozen guards to assist before proceeding with their deal. Kiaro had already suspected his shadiness and even knows his real name is Kintum, which surprises the merchant. He then asks Kiaro for the antidote recipe, claiming he has found someone capable of mass production. Kiaro realizes Kintum must be under pressure from nobles to comply, so he inquires how many corpses it would take to change his mind. Kintum admits Kiaro is formidable but questions whether his companions can even keep up. Kiaro plays along, stating he would sacrifice the girls if necessary. However, he's not in the mood for a fight, demanding 500 gold coins for the recipe instead. Kintum agrees to the terms, but the girls are disheartened by the loss of a steady income. Kiaro reassures them, stating that even if he gives away the recipe, no one else can replicate the potion as the antibodies in his blood are a key ingredient. However, Kintum will remain oblivious as the illness is already subsiding, leading him to lose 500 coins while his partner's business collapses. Suddenly, Kiaro senses an incoming attack and swiftly blocks it, only to find himself facing the sword Saint Kuraha. She recognizes he possesses the sword belonging to her family and asks for his identity, but Kuraha calmly informs her of her mistake. That's when he discovers the army has twisted the narrative, making it appear as though he attacked the village while they perished, defending it from him. Setsuna steps forward, revealing her allegiance to the Wolf Clan, flipping the narrative on its head. Freedia joins in, explaining how soldiers attempted to sell villagers into slavery, while Kuraha suspects he's brainwashed the girls. Determined, she resolves to eliminate Kiaro right here to rescue the two girls. Kiaro expresses his admiration for her, unwilling to engage in battle, but Kuraha dismisses his reasoning. Freedia charges at Kuraha, but her speed proves too much, and she swiftly takes Freedia down. Seeing Freedia hurt ignites Kiaro's fury. He warns Setsuna to stay back as he confronts Kuraha. They clash in a rapid duel, and as Kuraha realizes he matches her strength, she questions his choice to embrace villainy. In the midst of their fight, Kiaro shatters her sword, awakening his realization that he excels not just in swordplay, but also in alchemy and healing. She inquires about his true identity, and he promises to reveal it if she spares him. Kuraha declines and strikes again, but he counters by dropping a potion that amplifies her craving for sausage, throwing her off. In response, Kuraha wounds herself with her sword, and when Kiaro lunges, she severs his arm. Unexpectedly, Kiaro regenerates his arm and seizes her face, using healing magic to reveal the royal army's atrocities against the Wolf Clan. That night, as Kuraha rests, Setsuna praises Kiaro's battle skills, wishing to be as strong one day. Kiaro reassures her of her remarkable potential, stating that with proper training, she can certainly achieve it. Ia feels sidelined, having been defeated so effortlessly. Kiaro comforts her, affirming her efforts and asking Setsuna to provide her with combat training later. After requesting Iha to act for him, he uses healing magic to awaken Kuraha, revealing the kingdom's misdeeds, but she remains skeptical. She firmly believes the Yoral Kingdom champions human rights. Kiaro counters that those rights don't apply to demi-humans, who are enslaved even within the royal palace. He explains that these innocent individuals are kidnapped from their homes and sold to traffickers, shocking Kuraha. He expresses deep respect for her, lamenting her deception, and uses healing magic to reveal his true self. Despite owing him her life, she accuses him of taking Flair's life, insisting he must pay. Kiaro clarifies he didn't end Flair's life, just as Freedia appears in her old outfit, proving she's alive. She spins a tale of how she and Kiaro aim to expose the kingdom's wrongdoings. When Reynard discovered their plan and sought to silence them, she faked her death to escape. She aided Kiaro in defending the Ice Wolf village from the royal army, and now they aim to save the world. Hearing Flair's words, Kuraha finally understands she has been on the wrong side. Flair reassures her, stating she was simply fulfilling her duties. Before leaving, she advises Kuraha to reconsider her next steps, exiting the room and leaving Kiaro, who admires her performance. Kuraha turns to Kiaro, expressing her need to reassess her values and relearn swordsmanship. But first, she wants to practice her strikes on Kiaro's sword thanks to the potion he concocted. She pulls him into a kiss, and as Kiaro drifts into bliss, his other two companions overhear, wishing they were in her place. Unbeknownst to them, Kafin Reynard approaches with hostages from Kiaro's village, seeking revenge. The following morning at breakfast, Karaha clings to Chiaro's arm, inciting jealousy among the other girls. Soon after, Reynard arrives in the city with the hostages, demanding Chiaro surrender. Furious, Chiaro realizes this is merely bait to draw him out, urging Karaha to investigate his village's fate. After Karaha agrees, he gives her a farewell kiss, leaving the others in shock. Meanwhile, Reynard's men inform him of Chiaro's absence, fueling his rage. He recalls his disdain for his new appearance, having burned his face to erase reminders of Chiaro, yet it wasn't enough. Shortly after, Karaha returns with news that Chiaro is labeled a heretic. His village was attacked under the guise of collusion with him to betray the kingdom, prompting him to contemplate his next move. Satsuna notices his smile and questions if he finds joy in this. Chiaro, however, insists he feels immense sadness and anger before donning his coat and altering his appearance to confront Reynard. While surveying the area, he notes Annette is missing among the slaves and decides to speak with a soldier named Morlet, who recognizes him. Believing he's conversing with a friend, Morlet agrees to help, but warns him that Reynard has also captured the woman who raised Chiaro. Chiaro remembers Anna, the closest figure he had to a mother, a beacon of hope in his life. Her punishment stems from her connection to him, igniting his fury. That night, Chiaro disguises himself as Murda and meets Reynard in an abandoned house. Reynard demands to know Chiaro's hiding place, but Chiaro insists he'll share the information only if he's reinstated into the army. Reynard leans in, agreeing to the terms, and Chiaro finally reveals that the man he seeks is right beside him. Finally, Chiaro alters his appearance, but the incense he used in Europe takes effect, leaving Reynard and his crew frozen in place. Chiaro casts a healing spell on Reynard, transferring all of his memories into his mind. He discovers that Reynard torched his village and harmed his beloved Anna, and the worst part? She believes Chiaro betrayed her, thanks to his old face being worn by Reynard. Shortly after, Reynard awakens in a woman's body, and Chiaro holds up a mirror, vowing to make him pay for Anna's suffering. Reynard cackles maniacally, boasting about how he humiliated her in front of the entire village, relishing every moment. As he digs himself deeper, 4 eerie Jimbros suddenly appear behind him, making him realize the gravity of his situation. With sadness in his gaze, Chiaro understands that Reynard inflicts pain because he lacks empathy, but now he'll ensure others return the cruelty, so he never forgets. He unleashes the Jimbros on Reynard, igniting the surroundings and leading him into a world of suffering. Before long, he storms into Reynard's stronghold, slaughtering his soldiers, and finds Anna taking her final breaths in the main hall. As he rushes toward her, Anna sees the desperation in his eyes and smiles before slipping away peacefully. He desperately casts heal on her, but sadly, it's too late to save Anna. Returning home in despair, Setsuna and Free Ihao offer solace, but he tells them tonight he won't be a gentleman. After crashing through their walls like a bulldozer, he vows this will be the last time he sheds tears, and he will obliterate this kingdom if it's the last thing he does. At the palace, Norn learns of Chiaro's victory over Reynard and decides to slaughter everyone in his village to draw him out. Soon after, Karaha delivers the grim news that the remaining villagers are set to be executed in a coliseum in 5 days. She elaborates that the coliseum was designed for monster battles, making it nearly impossible to infiltrate. All entrances are secured with heavy metal doors, and a barrier surrounds the area, sealing the gates and absorbing all magic. Karaha warns against taking the bait, but Chiaro insists he must act to save this cursed nation. Seeing his resolve, Karaha agrees to assist him and reveals that Norn has returned to the kingdom. Both Chiaro and Free Ihao feel a chill at this news, but Karaha, oblivious, states her desire to rescue Norn from the horrors of this land. After she departs, Chiaro looks as if he stumbled upon something he shouldn't have, because contrary to Karaha's belief, Norn is a sadist who enjoys torturing others. He recalls his past, where Flair and her team abused him, unaware that he had built a resistance to their drug. One night, Norn visited their camp in Demon Territory and immediately recognized that he had regained his senses. She promised to keep his secret, but in return he had to keep an eye on Flair, who harbored many secrets. Another condition was that he had to do to her what he had done to Flair. Chiaro mentioned to Norn that Flair made him drink directly from her waterfall, which amused her. She instructed Chiaro to get to work, and he prayed at her divine fountain until he was blessed with holy water. Currently, Chiaro acknowledges that Norn hasn't harmed him yet, so pursuing her goes against his principles. However, she is the only one capable of defeating him, so he resolves to keep a close watch on her. Days later, Chiaro sneaks into the Colosseum and sees the remaining villagers bound to poles while the audience clamors for their execution. The executioner, Teratoya, informs the crowd of Chiaro's alleged crimes, convincing them that these villagers were complicit. Finally, he declares that if Chiaro surrenders, the villagers will be spared. In that moment, Chiaro uses heel to revert to his original face, revealing himself to the crowd. Chiaro leaps into the arena, and the crowd begins chanting for his execution. Teratoya tells him he can save the villagers by sacrificing his own life, prompting Chiaro to challenge them to try. As a few guards rush in, he dispatches them effortlessly, shocking everyone. He strides toward the stage, declaring he's there to save his people and deliver justice, as guards encircle him. He teleports out of the circle, leaving a trail of corpses behind. With no other option, Teratoya orders the guards to execute the villagers, and 4 are brutally stabbed. Witnessing this, Chiaro confronts Teratoya, stating he just took the lives of 4 innocent souls, and now he seeks vengeance. As he approaches, the guards continue to stab more villagers, but Chiaro vows he won't stop until he avenges every death today, with more guards falling to his wrath. Teratoya commands his men to activate the barriers, hoping to drain Chiaro's magic. However, Chiaro had asked Frida and Setsuna to reverse the barrier's effects, so now everyone wearing a prevention necklace is affected. As the guards collapse like dominoes, Chiaro stands in the center, relishing the downpour of their blood like a farmer. Realizing the necklace is draining them, Teratoya instructs the remaining guards to remove it. Teratoya warns Chiaro that the barrier remains active, meaning he can't escape. But Chiaro retorts that he's not trapped in here with them. They're the ones trapped with him, drenched in blood. Chiaro approaches the stage, warning the men that anyone who turns to attack the villagers will be the first to die, causing them to tremble. Yet he soon understands that Teratoya had already poisoned these villagers, never planning to release them. Time to unleash his final boss mode without guilt. At that moment, Freya activates the magic crystal, addressing the crowd while masquerading as her former self, Flare. She reveals the corruption plaguing the Jorl kingdom, detailing the attacks on innocent demi-humans and their enslavement. She goes on to explain that the war against demons is merely a money-making scheme, with families of whistleblowers facing execution. Freya shares that she became a target for trying to reveal these atrocities, but Chiaro staged her murder and smuggled her out of the castle for her safety. Teratoya urges the crowd not to trust her words, labeling her an imposter. In response, Freya sings a potent melody, causing the guards to drop their weapons. Freya casts a spell that shatters the barrier and conjures a mini-star in the sky, solidifying the crowd's belief that she is their true princess. With the crowd rallying behind her, Freya confesses her desire to escape and live as an ordinary girl, but her negligence led to the villagers' demise. This is why she can no longer flee from her duties and has returned to confront the darkness enveloping the kingdom. She tells the people that she can't do this alone, urging them to rise against injustice and assist her in rebuilding their kingdom. As her speech concludes, tears of joy flow from the crowd, while Chiaro stands in the center, relishing the success of his master plan. In a flash of light, he vanishes from the Colosseum as hundreds of spectators surge into the arena, ready to take down the guards and Teratoya for their cruelty. As the arena transforms into a slaughterhouse, Chiaro and his team hide in a shed with an unconscious boy from his village. He explains to Cura that the villagers were poisoned beforehand, and the kingdom had no intention of allowing them to survive. This was orchestrated to create the illusion of his heroism, only for him to be plunged into despair later. Chiaro knows only Norn could devise such a scheme. Just then, the merchant Kinta arrives, and Chiaro hands him money, requesting that he look after the boy he saved. Kinta observes that Chiaro seems like Madara on the outside, but is actually Hashirama within, stating a man must embody both to survive in this harsh world. The boy harbors resentment towards Chiaro, believing him responsible for the tragedy, but Kinta assures him he will set the record straight. However, Chiaro insists the boy should keep his hatred, as it will help him cope with the pain of losing his family. Kinta cautions that this boy might seek revenge one day, to which Chiaro replies he will be ready for that moment. Once Kinta departs, Chiaro tells the girl it's time to leave, but Kura advises him to be cautious. As a large-scale expedition heads toward the southern city of Brennick, she reveals that Norn is leading it, prompting Chiaro to plan a visit. On his way, he reflects on how no such expedition occurred in his previous life, indicating he's significantly altered the future's history. He informs the girls that Brennick is a city where humans and demons coexist, and contrary to popular belief, demons aren't inherently dangerous. In reality, demons are simply humans with extraordinary magical abilities, making them quite similar to ordinary people. Setsuna asserts that the true demons are those humans who harm demi-humans, prompting Kiaro to chuckle. Freya then inquires about their destination, and Kiaro reveals he wishes to see an old acquaintance, the demon lord he defeated in his past life. Meanwhile, Norn discovers her plan to eliminate Kiaro has failed, so she devises another scheme to eradicate him once and for all. Later, while the girls sleep, Kiaro crafts a makeshift magic staff for Freya, knowing he must find a divine armament for her. These armaments are crafted by the gods, starting as crystal balls that respond to a hero's touch, transforming into weapons that suit them best. Kiaro recalls that in his previous life, Freya acquired all 3 crystal balls, bullet, blade, and more, reminding him he still seeks revenge on them for their meddling. The following evening, Kiaro and the others finally arrive in the city, and the girls are astonished to witness humans and demons coexisting peacefully. Kiaro explains that since Brennick lies at the world's border, it was abandoned by the Girol kingdom during the last war. However, the demons did not destroy the city. Instead, it became a bridge connecting the 2 races. Soon after, Kiaro takes the girl to a pub, where they share a table with a human and a demon, both of whom are small and appear to be best friends. Kiaro orders food for everyone, including the strangers, to engage them in conversation and learn more about the city. The human reveals that when the kingdom abandoned this city, it was the demons who offered them a chance for peaceful coexistence, which they accepted out of necessity. Now, 2 decades later, humans, demons, and demi-humans live as one, enjoying drinks in the pubs. The demons and demi-humans assist in constructing the city and even enhance crop yields through innovative techniques. In return, the humans teach them how to enjoy life more and even offer their blood as a form of tax, with some paying their dues in blood. As their food arrives, the waitress asks Kiaro if she can add 1 more person to their table. Kiaro consents, allowing a petite woman to sit beside him. However, when she removes her hood, Kiaro realizes she is the demon lord from his past life, thanks to his appraising eye. He discovers she is still a candidate for Demon Lord, but her power levels remain over 9,000. As he focuses on the food, Ferdehi observes that since humans and demons enjoy such a good life here, it casts the kingdom in a negative light, as their agenda is to portray demons as evil. The demon at their table states that not all demons are like him. Some genuinely harbor animosity towards humans. He adds that all demons follow their lord's command, yet he has never encountered one in his life. The human jokes that the demon lord must be a gym enthusiast with large fangs, but Kiaro points to the girl beside him, casually stating that the demon lord is actually a cute girl like her. He tells her she resembles the demon lord he knows, but she insists she is just an ordinary demon struggling to get by. Kiaro invites her to join them and eat as much as she desires, and after some persuasion from the girls, she agrees to dine with them. When she questions why he confused her with the demon lord, Kiaro explains he encountered her years ago. Silver hair, crimson eyes, and black wings. The inebriated demon informs him that those traits belong solely to the Black Wing Trot, and the current demon lord has commanded their extermination. He adds that if a member of that tribe appeared here, chaos would ensue as everyone fought to claim the bounty. This revelation unsettles the girl, prompting her to consider leaving. Yet Kiaro warns her that everyone is gearing up to attack, insisting she must accept his help or face death. Out of nowhere, the demons launch their assault, but Freya and Setsuna quickly erect a barrier to shield the girl, struggling to fend off the attackers. Kiaro observes that the girl effortlessly deflects the strikes, indicating her immense strength. He turns to her, stating this assault is merely a distraction, only to see she's been struck by a paralyzing arrow. As she collapses, the demons advance, prompting Kiaro to propose his services as her protector. At the last moment, she pleads for Kiaro's assistance, leading him to declare to the demons that he will safeguard her. After dispatching their leader, Kiaro carries her out of the tavern and into an abandoned building. He instructs Freya and Setsuna to keep watch outside while he speaks with his new client. Kiaro mentions the demon lord of the Blackwing tribe, but she retorts that was over 30 years ago, long before he was born. Kiaro clarifies he's referring to the future, revealing she will ascend as the Demon Lord in 4 years. She thinks he's joking, asserting that even demons can't foresee the future, but when Chiaro identifies himself as the recovery hero and calls her by her true name, Evie, her defenses rise. Before tensions escalate, Chiaro assures her he means no harm. He desires a world where all coexist peacefully. To make that happen, he needs to ensure Eve becomes the next Demon Lord, which is why he offers his protection until then. Eve declines, claiming she can't trust a hero raised by a slayer, but Chiaro reminds her she'd be dead without his intervention. He points out that despite her abilities, she lacks the intellect and allies to defend against tricksters, which frustrates Eve as she reveals everyone she knew has been killed, leaving her to flee. Chiaro urges her to stay with him, promising to safeguard her and compensate for her shortcomings. He also offers her the chance to eliminate the current Demon Lord and take their position, allowing her to avenge the fallen. Eve demands to know his true intentions, and he states he seeks the heart of the Demon Lord. Still hesitant, she tells Chiaro she needs time to think. The following morning, she awakens to the sounds of nature, feeling frightened, fearing she's next. When Chiaro appears before her, his mic Oxlam terrifies her, causing her to scream for her mother. Later during breakfast, the girls scold Eve for challenging Chiaro and then fleeing during his plumbing session. Eve admits she was caught off guard by his sudden approach, then asks if he's the hero or the villain. In his typical modesty, Chiaro spends the next 10 minutes extolling his own virtues. Eve thinks those who brag about themselves aren't always the best, but Chiaro counters that repeating something often makes it believable. He then encourages her to eat, and when she takes a bite, tears stream down her face from the stress of her long escape. As she eats, Chiaro reassures her that the three of them will protect her until she becomes the Demon Lord. In return, he requests the Philosopher's Stone and for Eve to initiate negotiations with the humans. When she inquires about his ultimate goal, Chiaro explains the war was instigated for the Ural Kingdom to profit, which disgusts him, so he aims to put an end to it. Eve asks if claiming her V-card is part of his plan, but he replies he's already overwhelmed with cookies and wouldn't risk his reputation for a Demon Lord just for that. Eve finally consents to the plan, asserting she can assist them since she's a formidable warrior. However, Chiaro mocks her for nearly being killed by street thugs yesterday, which irritates her. Later, Chiaro informs her that demons are skilled at controlling monsters and asks if she has succeeded. Eve reluctantly admits she has, but she can't command it until she completes the trials. Chiaro expresses his desire to help and asks what type of monster it is. She reveals it's actually a god, the divine bird of disease known as Calidrius. According to legend, when a deadly plague struck the world, Calidrius was the one who healed the afflicted and eradicated the illness. In another tale, Calidrius is said to have annihilated an entire nation with a single flap of its wings, indicating it can both spread and cure disease. Chiaro is fascinated and wants to see it immediately, but Eve warns him it would be fatal. Nevertheless, Chiaro insists he's willing to take that risk to gain more power to save the world. Eve cautions that failing the trials could make them gravely ill, but Chiaro reminds her he's the recovery hero capable of curing any ailment. Even though she agrees, she stipulates he must embark on a round trip around the world as part of the trial conditions. Thus, Chiaro alters his appearance and sets off to gather more information. Seeing him change his looks makes her realize she hasn't seen his true face yet, and she hopes he'll reveal it someday. As he steps outside, he's immediately ambushed by one of the demons that attacked Eve. The demon declares that altering his appearance won't help, as he recognizes him by his scent. With the truth out, Chiaro becomes serious and swiftly dispatches the demon. He comes back later, asking Setsuna to track the attacker's scent to locate their hideout. Before diving into action, he needs to sharpen his skills with Freya and Setsuna. Eve bolts from the room but perches by the door, eavesdropping. After a grueling yoga session, Chiaro and Setsuna set off to find the attacker's lair. Once they pinpoint the location, Chiaro douses their pet bowl with a magic potion, sending it into a frenzy. As the others prepare to take it down, Chiaro instructs Setsuna to flank one side while he takes the opposite. After capturing all the demons, Chiaro tosses them into a pit, and Setsuna encases it in ice to prevent escape. Chiaro questions them about Eve, but they deny telling anyone, eager to claim the bounty for themselves. He reminds them they wrecked a fine restaurant in their greed, so they'll be stuck here for 2 weeks. When they protest about starving, Chiaro suggests they slay their pet bull and feast on its premium beef. As he walks away, the pet bull awakens and devours them all, and Chiaro can't help but laugh at the sweet irony. Later, he reserves a spacious room with 2 beds, but Eve hesitates, knowing Chiaro will make her watch. When she requests a separate room, Chiaro declines, insisting he must keep an eye on her for safety. Still unsure, she claims she'll leave when he's busy, but Chiaro refuses again, citing safety concerns. He then calls for a vote on whether to keep Johnny tucked away while in the city. Naturally, both Setsuna and Freddy cast their votes in support of his decision. The following day, he takes Freya to a magic shop to buy her a staff, but the one she chooses is subpar. Chiaro uses his skills to transform it into a top-grade staff, impressing the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper asks Chiaro to upgrade 2 more staffs, offering to sell this one at half price in return. In the end, the shopkeeper also gifts him a mithril sword to make the trade fair. Just then, Chiaro hears a ruckus in town and climbs to a higher vantage point, spotting Norn and her elite soldiers. As a bonus, she's brought along the sword hero, Blade. Suddenly, he notices a Hawkeye in Norn's ranks who immediately recognizes Chiaro, forcing him to change his position. As Chiaro flees, he realizes he nearly got himself killed. Too focused on revenge, he needs to stay calm. Meanwhile, the townsfolk speculate about the army's presence, while some women start eyeing Blade, who smirks back. That night, she seizes one of those women, drugs her, and dives into her waterfall. The next day, Chiaro and his crew are having lunch with a demi-human merchant named Carmen. Chiaro mentions he needs substantial funds for travel and can sell health and stamina potions for cash. Carmen recognizes their quality and wants to buy them in bulk, given the heightened tensions from Norn's visit. As they finalize the deal, he shares plans to open an even larger shop in this city. However, Chiaro warns him that a battle could erupt here, so he should be prepared to escape. Carmen reciprocates the warning, revealing one of his customers had her kitty slapped by Blade last night. The woman is completely destitute, and even her father is weeping himself to sleep. Rumor has it, Blade is on a rampage, and Chiaro should be cautious, especially around women resembling top-tier models. Chiaro wants to use this to his advantage against Blade, but since she was obsessed with Flare, she'll recognize her instantly. So, he decides to enlist Setsuna and Eva. But that night, he realizes these girls are too valuable to use as bait, so he needs a different plan. The next day, Chiaro asks Freyta to make him look as feminine as possible, and Freya comments on how cute he looks. Soon after, she transforms Chiaro into someone who would make straight men reconsider their choices. That night, Chiaro deliberately wanders through shady alleys, hoping to draw Blade out, but instead attracts a bunch of goons. After knocking them out, Chiaro gains confidence in his appearance as a woman and heads to the bar where Blade is. Before long, Blade arrives and starts chatting amicably with Chiaro over drinks. Eventually, Chiaro decides it's time to head home. Saini has had enough, but Blade insists he should have just one more. She secretly slips a sleeping drug into his drink, but when Chiaro declines again, she takes a big sip and locks eyes with him. Chiaro pretends to pass out, allowing her to carry him out through the back alley. There, she's confronted by an old man, the father of the girl she attacked last night, showing no remorse. Blade throws Chiaro at the old man, forcing him to drop the act and knock the man out. Blade realizes the drug didn't affect Chiaro and decides to capture him, but Chiaro retaliates with a punch, infuriating her. Using her divine weapon Ragnarok, she enhances her strength and manages to seize Chiaro. As Chiaro feels his strength fading, Blade taunts him, saying she won't strike his pretty face like he did to hers, but she'll definitely hit him from behind. Chiaro pretends to lose consciousness, only to wake up bound to a bed in Blade's quarters. He feigns being a damsel in distress, screaming for help, which only fuels Blade's excitement to uncover his youthful secret. But when she discovers a massive tiger instead of a cute kitten in his twilight zone, she starts to gag and retch. Chiaro breaks free from his restraints and quickly poisons her, leaving her legs feeling weak. He then reveals that if his 11 inches of metal pipe didn't give it away, he's actually a man masquerading as a woman. Blade, utterly repulsed, turns to grab her sword, but she soon faints, forcing Chiaro to make her grasp his weapon instead. After healing her, Chiaro learns that Norn intends to initiate a full-scale search and destroy operation in 3 days, with Ragnarok on her side. Blade awakens in a tavern, her legs completely immobilized, with her sword lying on the table beside her. Chiaro pulls back the curtains to reveal 3 Jimbro, eagerly reaching for a cookie. As they approach, Chiaro takes a seat, listening to her plead for mercy. He questions Blade if she would have let those girls go had they begged her to stop, and she swears on her mother that she would have. Kiaro states he wanted her life, but instead, he proposes a game. The guys behind her are craving both food and cookies, and the only way to prevent them from turning on her is to let them play Super Smash Bros. On her console. If she can survive the night, Kiaro promises her freedom. With no other options, Blade consents and allows the guys to play. To complicate things, Kiaro takes on the form of Flare, the woman Blade holds dear. This sight shatters her resolve, and when she finally surrenders, the guys take her life. Upon her death, her weapon transforms into a crystal ball which Kiaro takes, setting his sights on the last person he seeks revenge against. The following day, Carmen informs him that his potions are nearly sold out and asks Kiaro to brew more while handing over the profits. As they chat, Hake suddenly appears behind Kiaro, startling him since he hadn't sensed his presence. Hake inquires if Kiaro created these potions, and after Carmen confirms, he invites Kiaro to join them, praising him as both a skilled alchemist and a master peeping Tom. At this, Kiaro instinctively reaches for his weapon, which only endears him to Hake further. Hake formally introduces himself and extends an invitation to join them, but Kiaro prefers to work solo. He then asks Kiaro why he was spying, to which Kiaro replies he was merely being cautious since they arrived unannounced. Hake advises him against actions that make him seem suspicious before turning to Carmen and requesting a box of Kiaro's potions. After Hake departs, Setsuna comments on his immense strength, noting that even Kiaro would struggle against him in a fair fight. Kiaro agrees, recognizing that Hake poses the greatest challenge between him and Norn. That night, Kiaro explains that Hake possesses godly eyesight and superhuman reflexes, making it impossible to defeat him without a divine weapon. He realizes that forming a contract with the crystal ball will transform it into a weapon suited for him, so he decides to take a chance. Upon touching the ball, he summons the divine spirit, who asks about his intentions. Kiaro expresses his desire to protect it, aiming to outdo Dengjus in attracting more shotties, thus seeking immortality and devastation. The crystal aligns with his desires, morphing into divine armor named Jorgus, prompting him to laugh maniacally. Meanwhile, his shotties overhear him from the other room, gearing up for some serious piping. While Eve Gunn outside, Norn later discovers that Blade has gone missing, yet she chooses to proceed with her plan. She addresses the city's inhabitants, claiming she's there to liberate them from the demons who have tormented them for years, continuing her speech. The humans in the crowd tell her to be quiet, as they are living quite well alongside those demons. The crowd quickly turns against her, and amidst the chaos, one man slips past the guards to attempt an assassination. Hawkeye swiftly takes him down, but Norn plays the victim, claiming the demons have brainwashed the humans into becoming killers. She then orders the mass execution of demons, and within hours, the city is littered with the bodies of innocent demons and demi-humans who coexisted peacefully with the humans. As Kiaro observes this from his room, he suddenly spots Carmen aiding others just before getting cut down. Kiaro rushes to help, but tragically Carmen is already lost. Holding Carmen's lifeless body, Kiaro mourns the loss of a dear friend before switching to his vengeful mindset. As rain begins to fall, Norn's elite forces surround him, but he summons Gorgus and cleaves them in two. He vows to ensure Carmen's death and the slaughter of his village won't be in vain as he charges into battle. While he skillfully dispatches Norn's elites, one of them informs Norn about a mysterious swordsman wreaking havoc on their ranks. Before she can devise a plan, Freya uses magic to address the elites as the first princess of Yorl. She tells everyone that she has witnessed the harmony between humans and demons, achieved not through brainwashing, but through genuine peace. She insists that demons are not their foes, and while some may be monstrous, those in this city are innocent and desire no conflict. She pleads for them to halt the massacre, leaving Norn in a state of confusion. Her commanding voice forces the elites to drop their weapons, and soon the demons emerge from their hiding spots to witness her. As her speech wraps up, Norn senses something's off. The Flare she knew would never regard demons as anything but pests. She deduces that another woman is masquerading as Flare, manipulating her into delivering those lines. Connecting the dots, Norn realizes this enigmatic swordsman is orchestrating everything. He must be the recovery hero, Kiaro, while she talks. Kiaro stealthily approaches the hall to confront her, but Haka swiftly intervenes. An intense clash ensues, but as expected, Hakai always stays a step ahead of Kiaro. Even after being struck by lethal poison, Chiaro skillfully merges his healing with Georges, curing himself. Realizing his near immortality, Chiaro charges into battle, baiting Hawkeye with his arm. Haka dodges the strike, but Chiaro cleverly uses his other hand to cast reverse healing, causing Haka's body to explode. With Haka's demise, Norn panics for her life, but Chiaro casually approaches and knocks her out. Outside, he observes the humans and demons with mixed feelings, but the slaughter has finally ceased. Later, Chiaro heals Norn to confirm her involvement in Anna's fate. Upon waking, he informs her that her army has retreated to Girol and no rescue is coming. He shares the story of Carmen, his only true friend in this world, who dreamed of expanding her shop. But she was executed on her orders, prompting Norn to question his loyalty to his own kind. Chiaro slaps her, asserting that a demon's life holds equal value to a human's. Fearing for her life, Norn pleads for forgiveness, but Chiaro begins to choke her, reminding her of the innocent lives she destroyed. He tells her she can go free if she wins a game, but refusal means handing her over to the demons. Norn consents to the game, prompting Chiaro to summon Flare, turning her into a mindless dog, instructing her to show Norn some sisterly affection. Just moments into the game, Norn surrenders, leading Chiaro to punish her by forcing her sister to perform in front of her. Afterward, Chiaro wipes Norn's memories, transforming her into a new person named Melon, his long-lost sister who adores him. Later, when Kura drops by, he updates her on his two new allies before inquiring about her visit. Kura expresses her eagerness to ride his sausage train, prompting Chiaro to bring the entire Shabby Express to his bedroom. Meanwhile, the king discovers both of his daughters have been kidnapped, summoning Bulla for their rescue. Later, Chiaro instructs the girls to prepare for their departure while he pays a visit to a friend. He soon arrives at Carmen's grave, vowing to enjoy enough romantic encounters for both of them. He also addresses Anna, assuring her that he has avenged her, allowing her to rest peacefully. On his way back, he encounters the human and demon he shared a table with, who leave him a gift for saving their lives. After accepting it, Chiaro realizes he's become soft, feeling affection for Flare. But memories of Bulla's torture flood back, reigniting the flames of vengeance in his heart. With the most fearsome villains and the future demon lord under his control, Chiaro proclaims himself the god of this world, vowing to deliver justice to those who have wronged him. That's a wrap for this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and we might consider a sequel. If you made it this far, comment, "I love feed," as proof.